Matt Gress, Director of the Governor's Office of Strategic Budgeting and Planning. Thanks for joining us today. Obviously, today is kind of like your Super Bowl. You know, the budget was launched today. Of course, we want to get your insight and feedback on, the key elements of the governor's budget proposal. But just to kick things off, can you just give us a general overview of the state of our economy and what state revenues are looking like?
Well, from a national perspective, things are as good as ever. We've seen GDP growth, U.S. GDP growth. We're planning to see that at 3% year over year for calendar year 2018. That's the largest growth rate since before the Great Recession. And that's due in large part by fixed business investment, people who are expanding factories, building factories, those long-term 15 to 20-year investments that occurred in the past year, due in large part to federal tax reform. We also have optimistic consumers, both individual and businesses, at 15-year highs. And our labor market nationally is on fire. We're reaching 50-year lows in our unemployment rate. On the state level, Arizona is leading the way. We're first in the nation in construction job growth, second in manufacturing job growth. We're third in the net immigration. People, as the governor says, are voting with their feet and moving here for opportunity. And they're going to find it because we do have, for the fifth month in a row, 3% year-over-year job growth. We haven't seen that streak since before the Great Recession. So we believe Arizona is well positioned to take advantage in the near term of this economic momentum. And we're seeing it in our general fund revenues.
So obviously making sure that our fiscal house is in order, for future years. One of the elements in the budget is adding additional revenue to the rainy day fund. So from the governor's perspective, why is that such a key element of this budget?
We have a projected $1.1 billion cash balance for 2020. We take half of that, $542 million, and we deposit it into the rainy day fund. That is the single largest deposit into the rainy day fund in the rainy day fund's history. It would bring the balance up to $1 billion, or 9% of general fund revenues. And we know that financial experts have said that we're not saving enough to weather an economic downturn. They say that we ought to have between 10 to 15% of our general fund revenues in our savings account because when we enter an economic downturn, obviously your revenues go down, but spending pressures go up. More people might find themselves out of work and they could qualify for government assistance as part of our safety net program. So we have revenue pressures, spending pressures, and in total, these experts say that we don't have enough money. And if you look in the last two recessions, we had 7% of general fund revenues in our savings account, and we depleted that, and we still were in a bad position. So the governor wants to make sure that we have adequate reserves so that in the event of an economic downturn, we can recover faster, stronger, than ever before.
So another key element of the budget proposal where there's additional dollars in investment is K-12 education. That's obviously been a priority of the governor's during his first term, and then he made it very clear during his inaugural address and also State of the State the importance of K-12 education. Can you just give us a highlight of some of those key areas in terms of new dollars or new programs that you guys will be funding?
So we're putting in $637 million of new funding into K-12 education in fiscal year 2020. When you look at our baseline spending increases, enrollment, inflation, as well as the 20 by 2020 teacher pay raise proposal, restoration of additional assistance, as well as some of our new executive initiatives, that will equate to about 63% of all of the new spending in 2020 going to K-12 education. When you add in our higher education events, 70% of all of the new spending in fiscal year 2020 will be going to education. So some of those investments include keeping our promise that we made to Arizona teachers and schools, adding the next 5% increment in the 20 by 2020 pay plan. So we're now at 15% in order to give that 20% pay raise by school year 2020. We're including the second phase of additional assistance. This is a funding formula that provides soft capital, school buses, technology, building repairs, as well as operational funding to pay support professionals and include funding for additional teacher raises beyond the 5%. We're expanding results-based funding. This is a program that began in 2018 to reward and replicate academic excellence at a school site. So if a school performs well on our letter grade system and they're an A, they're going to get a per pupil an award of either $400 or $225 depending on the poverty level of the school. We're expanding that to add in higher poverty B schools because we want to recognize how excellent it is to reach that level with all of the other circumstances that you might have when you're dealing with tougher socioeconomic environments. That's very exciting. We're going to triple the number of schools that will qualify in fiscal year 2020. We're also expanding the Arizona Teachers Academy, a very important program to the governor. We know that we have a teacher shortage and it's only going to get worse if we don't act now. So we're including $21 million in new funding for our universities and our community colleges to help pay that last dollar, what we call the student's bill after they apply institutional aid, need aid, merit aid, other federal scholarships. So that'll pay for 4 years of a student who's enrolled in the College of Education. It'll pay for 2 years of juniors and seniors who aren't in the College of Education, but they're pursuing a degree in science, technology, engineering, and math. We provide $1,000 stipends to juniors and seniors who agree to teach in critical need areas, tribal schools, rural schools, low-income schools, STEM-related courses, special education. And finally, we allow non-residents and those who are already in the classroom but earning their post-baccalaureate credential in order to be fully certified as a teacher. So we're really excited. This is going to provide at the universities about 3,400 spots in the Arizona Teachers Academy. Right now we have about 238 individuals. So we are really ramping up the state's commitment, and we hope that that $21 million continues to grow and more people agree to sign up to be in the Arizona Teachers Academy.
In the budget proposal, there is dollars for widening I-17 and also for the merit post-support of entry. Right. Can you talk about those two proposals and what the benefit will be to the state with both of those? So
as a result of the public safety fee, we've been able to end the diversion of state transportation dollars to cover costs of operating the highway patrol. That has resulted in $50 million in new infrastructure funding going to the state, plus an additional $50 million going to our counties and cities for their infrastructure projects as well. The executive budget helps accelerate and expand ADOT's planned I-17 widening project. Right now they're planning to add a reversible lane between Black Canyon City and Sunset Point, as well as add a portion of a third southbound lane between Black Canyon City and about halfway between Black Canyon City and Anthem. What the governor's budget does is it continues that southbound third lane all the way to Anthem and adds a new third northbound lane from Anthem to Black Canyon City. So it's a $130 million investment over the next 3 years and will help us finish this project earlier. As it relates to the Nogales Port of Entry, this is a Mariposa Port of Entry. This is a really cool project. The budget includes $700,000 to build a cold inspection facility at that port. The local partners, the county and some business groups are putting in $300,000, so it really is a key partnership here. Mariposa is the largest port in terms of goods flowing through that port. And until the mid-2000s, it was the port with the highest value of fruit produce coming through. We were surpassed by a couple of ports in the state of Texas because they had this cold inspection facility. So when a carrier comes through and a secondary inspection needs to be conducted on that shipment, Right now at the port in Mariposa, there is no temperature-controlled environment. And sometimes these secondary inspections can take hours. Sometimes they can take half a day or several days. And if you don't have refrigeration for these temperature-sensitive goods, they're going to be spoiled, and you will have lost millions of dollars of value in that product. So carriers have to make those decisions about how quickly they can get through a port when deciding where to go and enter the United States. So what this will do is increase our competitiveness with Texas and with other surrounding states, making Arizona the place to transport those goods. It will result in millions of dollars being added to our state gross domestic product, as well as additional tax revenue for the commerce coming through and people stopping, buying fuel, staying the night, all of those types of activities that come along with increased traffic.
Well, Matt Gress, we appreciate you taking the time to educate us on the governor's budget proposal, and we look forward to hearing from you as the progress goes on with the budget negotiations.
Thanks, Lorna.
Thank you.